So, I'm Neil. I'm just going to help you install the Twisty Ride system. I was looking online, I couldn't see much about it, and there's quite a lot of cabling and routing for this system that needs to be put in place if you want to use the power supply system that comes with it. It does attach onto your battery, so you've got to find a clean routing that will go through your bike up to where the control center of the bike is, and you have to keep it away from all the moving parts, the suspension, the steering and everything that goes with it. So hopefully this little how-to will get you some way to an interesting and safer ride. Hi guys, so what we're going to do, we're going to try and put this Twisty Ride power system, you can see here, nice little block with some attachment points and the end up into the GS, and it has to go on the battery just here. We have to find a way of routing it through under the bodywork and then ultimately up into the back of this, where the ram mount system is going to hold our Twisty Ride system, and hopefully bring it up out from under the dash somewhere. So here's my little how-to on doing it. So we're going to lay it out next to the bike to begin with, so we can see what lengths we've got, and then we can do some trial fitment and see how everything goes together. Right, I'm going to start at the front and work backwards. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the side panels off here. So we need to take power from here, and we need to get it somehow through the front of the bike, up the back here, and up to here. I'm aiming to leave it as a Velcro tie-off somewhere around here, so that when I've not got the device on, it should leave us with a nice tidy end point. And looking down in here as well, and where we can actually bring it through. It's actually a little confusing. I don't think we can use this courseway here because there's just not enough room to go in there. We might be able to run it up nicely underneath here, underneath through, and follow the body through. So that's what I'm going to try to begin with. Okay, I think we have some success. So let me show you what I've done here. So we've got it wrapped around the pillar here with a piece of Velcro. Hopefully you can see that. I'll just move this out the way. So we've got the Velcro here, and then the cable runs down the back on the inside here. It goes through behind the plastic piece, through underneath, and you see it here coming out the other side, and then it runs underneath. So it's all out the way of the steering. It's not zip tied in yet. So that goes through here, underneath, and then what we're doing, we fed it through underneath here, and here and around here, and just pushed it in, and it clipped up underneath the tank, and it comes here, and that gives us loads and loads of flex at this end. Actually way too much flex. We're going to have to zip tie some of that off, so I'm going to start zip tying it back. Might do a connectivity test first. Okay, so we've just put a little zip tie on here across the front subframe there, and we're just holding it in nice and tight, so we're going to clip that off. We left a little bit of slack, so it gives us more space if we just need to lift this out a little bit more, but it's nice and tight at the back there with the Velcro strap that comes from Twisty Ride, and I'm just going to clip that off there. And we've got this lovely little box here on GSs, so I'm going to take this tray out. So we've got a bit of space under there, so hopefully we've got space there to put a little power box somehow in there, and all the cables that go with it. And the aim is to somehow get the remote here just outside the box somehow, maybe strapped on the subframe here, so we can just flick our hand underneath and switch the unit on and off, so we're not putting power drain on when we're not using it. Okay, so I'm just doing the test fit here, and I think I've done a little bit of strapping underneath there, so hopefully you can see that the remote connector is on there, on that side. I'm going to worry about the wiring later, And then on this side here, I've been looking how I can get this cable that's running across and under this shroud, and there might actually be room to strap the power box on under there, and that will sit quite nicely under that shroud. So I'm going to work with that and see how we get on, and hope I don't run out of zip ties. Okay, after much trial and error, rather than trying to mount it under here, we've got some brake pipes and things in the way. I've actually put it on the side here. It's such a shame that it comes with white zip ties rather than black ones, so I'd probably recommend before you attempt this, you badger the Twisty Ride guys to send it out with black zip ties instead. So they only just fit around there, but it's quite nice and tight and neat. And then on this side here, we've got the remote, which is quite nicely zip tied on there. Now I've got a load of cable here, a load of cable here. I'm going to do something with that to tidy it up, and that sits quite nicely under there. We've just got to make sure it's pulled down and away from the seat mechanism. Okay, so I didn't like the white cable ties that came with it, so I've just been down my hardware store and got a big bag of black zip ties, cable ties if you're in the UK, whatever you want to call them. So I'm just going to go through and replace. You can see it looks much better. I'm going to replace these white ones. The quality's not great on them either. I mean, one of them snapped on me, so I was already running a bit low. Okay, so I'm going to fix them with the black ones on that side and over on the other side, so it all gels in nicely. Then I'm going to clean this area up a little bit, and we're going to look at cable routing. Right, here we go. So as you can see, it's nice and secure. It's not going anywhere. So once you've got your ties in, just like push them back out of the way, make sure they're not going to touch anything that they shouldn't. Tip with zip ties is always just leave a little bit more on the end. You can see I've just left a tiny bit, and then if you need to get a pair of pliers on them to grab it, to just tighten it up, you can. And BMW tend to snip them. You see a BMW one there, tend to snip them quite close, but that's quite secure there, but it might give a little bit with use. So we're just going to do a test fit of the seat now to make sure that nothing is in the way of the seat with where I've put the units. Okay, so we've just put the seat back on, and as you can see, we've got like half a thumb's clearance up there between that, so that's not going to rub. It's clear for the leg. It doesn't matter if it gets wet because it's completely waterproof, and the cable just nips in nicely each side. We'll go around the other side of the bike, and as we can see, just under there we've got our little unit, and it's clear of the saddle, so we're all good. So test fit complete. Right, now we've got to do some tidying up. Okay, so we're looking pretty good actually. You can see we've got the negative terminal on there, and we've wired it in, and we've just tidied this up with a couple of cable ties. I've got a couple of extra bits going on here. One of them's which a charger, and the other one is my heated suit flex. So I've got quite a bit that you will not have to deal with here. And then of course the positive terminal goes on there, drops quite nicely in behind the seat. So we're going to do a seat test now, just to make sure everything fits and nothing interferes. Okay, so seat test complete. We're just going to give a little spray of the old ACF, make sure everything's protected that should be, and I think we're good for reassembly. I've just done a power connection test and it all works. When we hit the power button on the other side, I don't know if you can see this, but we get a little green light on there, so we know everything is working. Switch it off, takes a couple of seconds to fade, and all this area here is nice and flat now. I've got a much bigger battery in here than you might have as stock, so my battery's higher anyway. So if you've got space around here, you can make your own cable tie or your own little tidy around there. But everything's clear of the suspension, there's nothing anywhere near it. And the same on the front, everything's clear, there's nothing interfering with the steering. So I think that's a pretty good job. So we're going to put it back down together and see how we look. Right, so we've put the bike back together. I've just put a piece of gaffer tape on here just to guarantee the cable routing. It's got plenty of space under there, nothing's too tight, everything's got a little bit of slack on it, which is good. So we know we're not going to get any stresses or rubs. We follow that through. So that goes up in here, it comes under here, runs about here actually, up the inside of the tank, goes through, follows it through, and you can't even see it really under there, it's just this tiny bit of cable here. So we've got nothing anywhere near the steering, it's all nice and clear and clean, and it just pops out the top there. So we're all good on that front. I'm going to do a phone test just to make sure the connectors work, and we'll see how we get on. But yeah, you can see that the bike's come back together quite nicely. It's very tidy actually, in the way that it's done in the end. There's no rub marks here, so we know we're not in any danger of catching any cables. The button works, it's nice and secure, we're using black cable ties, so yeah, all good. Okay, so we've got the RAM mount system on that comes with it, so it's using the handlebar mount. You can see it's going around the screen support pillar on the GSA. This takes a bit of messing around. I mean, I've got a sat nav on here, most of you will have as well. It's quite a wide sat nav, but you can see it just sits slightly forwards of it. But the key is when you're on full lock, which you do use for turning, you can see that just got clearance there. So it takes a bit of messing around, and get yourself a good small little hand wrench like this that you can actually get up inside and make sure everything's good and tight. As you can see, that is really secure. I mean, you can hit it, smack it around, it'll probably shake a little bit, but the trick's going to be to get the power flex up the back here, across and down onto the bottom of the unit without causing anything going into this area here. So I think our friends the zip ties may be employed again. So you can see there, that's all nicely tightened up. I've just moved my traffic receiver out the way here, so we've still got our little unit here and a bit of Velcro here. So now we're going to test fit that to find a good fit. Okay, so I've just connected the iPhone connector. As you can see, this is one long lead. This almost makes it to the back of the tank. So we're going to have to be creative with this, and it might need some rearrangement of where this kind of block is on. It depends whether you're going to have this on all the time or whether you're just going to use it for riding if you're out on an expedition. For me, because I do a lot of town riding, I think it's something I'm going to leave on and connected. So I think I'm going to end up tying this up into a nice neat little bunch and maybe tucking it away at the back somewhere, and just leaving enough flex for the end piece to just connect up to where the iPhone needs to be. And there we have it. So it's all done. This is all in. I had to move this a little bit, so at the extreme of handlebar movement it just catches it, but the RAM mount's got a little bit of give in it anyway, so I've got no problems with that. This is a bit annoying, I can see that flapping around in the wind, and when the cable's not in, it's going to flap around. So I'm going to get a piece of Velcro and put a Velcro strap around there, a bit like this one, that can hold it in. What it means is now when I'm not on the bike and I'm taking the phone away, or I don't have this attached, I can very quickly clip that out and then just tie everything back, and it's all nice and neat and ready to ride. We'll just put that back in, for that in a minute. But on the side, on this side, we've got our tiny little button here, so that switches it on and off. And then on the other side, we've got the control box that's nicely lashed on. That's not going anywhere. There's enough give on all the cables. It's not catching on anything there. And if we just look at the LED on that side, and I can find the power supply on the other, there we go. I should be able to switch it on and switch it off. So, yeah, that was pretty good. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it helps you overcome some of the problems I had when installing the Twisty Ride power system onto a GS. It doesn't matter what kind of motorcycle you've got. The thing is, get a big bag of cable ties, and you've got to try different routings, and don't be afraid to use a little bit of gaffer tape to just force the routing a little bit. There is a lot of extra cabling on this system, and if they made one for a GS, you could probably remove about a foot of cabling. So I hope that has been helpful for you, and see you later.